right, coming in with a bang. It's me, Majora T, out here today to get some table topics action. Yeah, I love table topics. Table topics is a series where I invite you, the viewer, to participate in some gaming related topic, either via the comments or video response. If you do a video response, you let me know. I go ahead and add it to the community table topics playlist. We got some great responses last time from Terry309, Fiji Mashup, and Fabrelon. I'll have them all linked in the community playlist in the top right corner, which you can go check out now. With that being said, we're moving to the next table topic. I wanted to, instead of just completely shifting gears, kind of go to the next logical step. The last question I asked was about memorable gaming characters, and before that it was about non-white ones. Well, I want to focus even sharper this time and talk about protagonists in video games. What to you makes a protagonist particularly effective in a video game? Now, I know not all of you play like action adventure games, so you could just talk about like the lead character or model in a video game that you play. Say it's like a spaceship shooter or a racing game or something. Like what matters to you then? What makes that lead in that game effective? To me, it's a blend of a couple things, namely that their entire concept and their story and their arc is tangible to me. And one game that I found that particularly present for and that I played recently was Yakuza 0 with Kiryu and Goro Majima. Take a look.
お前に取り立てを頼んだ金貸しから組に連絡があってな。
金貸し？
東郷クレジットの社長だ。あの社長に頼まれて仇ぶっ殺したのはおめえだろ。もっともあいつは自分のせいじゃねえって早速逃げ打ってやがったがな。
たかが30万程度の小競りの取り立てで本性が下手打つとも思っていなかっただろうからな。はあ、ちんけな金貸しとはいえ同情するぜ。
まあそんなことはどうでもいい。理由がどうあれ仇をやっちまったっつうことはどう幕を引くかだが。
ちょっと待ってください。俺は
ジタバタすんじゃねえ。
Alright, so with Kiryu, he's the protagonist of the entire Yakuza series, and they've made 7 games based solely on this guy from 0 through 6. So you know that immediately they're doing something right with him that matters, you know, that resonates with people. Kiryu's backstory in Yakuza 0 is almost like a tragedy, so you can kind of empathize with him, but at the same time he doesn't let that topple him. So I happen to find Kiryu's perseverance in this situation to be particularly effective. I think there's some innate human fear about like being charged with something that you didn't do. There's like a word for that, like innocent on death row or something like that. Obviously they're not trying to like off him right now, but at one point in the game he's got to cut off his pinky, you know, to appease the Yakuza underworld bosses. So, you know, just seeing his whole situation, it does kind of it made me anyway kind of grasp or come to terms with what he's going through. I think some of the other things that are important as far as having a strong and effective protagonist are them being personable, and also just the context of the whole game's story in general and all the worlds and how everything combines. I asked the question on Reddit and I got a really good response from this guy who said something about how like the world almost creates the character. But to me, personability is also huge because a lot of times in these adventure games you have silent protagonists. You know, that I could think of more games that I played with silent protagonists than without. So like, what is it about those protagonists that is particularly effective with me? Well, it's when they're not just blank slates. I think when you see that there is some personality to them, that's when you can start to like, I don't want to say empathize with them because it's hard to do that with a character that like is kind of empty, that you don't hear throughout a whole game. But if there's those little things you can grab onto, that can make all the difference. With Zelda, for me, for Ocarina of Time, I happen to love little gestures that Link makes. like these little facial expressions or his sound effects. You know, when he's screaming, when you know, like the gravestone blows up in Kakariko Village. Those moments are priceless, and I do see a more human side to him. If you take a game like Metroid Prime on the opposite spectrum, where there are no real like sound effects aside from maybe some breathing, that's when I think the world really builds the character. Everything about Metroid Prime builds up this idea of Samus Aran, the space adventurer in this lonely, you know, interspatial ecosystem. And I think by virtue of just how cool Samus is in that role to begin with the whole spacesuit and everything, those are personable touches. Those also make her an effective protagonist. All she needed to do was look cool in this game, you know, about going to space and taking on the space pirates, etc. In turn-based RPGs, it's a little different. For me, like Shin Megami Tensei is my go-to. I think what makes protagonists effective in that game, even though they may be silent, is their agency. To me, Shin Megami Tensei 4 was like a landmark success to that extent. You have agency when it comes to building a party, to negotiating with demons, to even major choices that you make with regard to the plot. I didn't necessarily see those in Persona. In Shin Megami Tensei 4, the choices that you make have a massive effect on the way that the rest of the game unfolds. So that to me is like an example of a game that does silent protagonists without gestures in a turn-based setting particularly well. But anyway, that's my response. What's yours? What to you makes a particularly effective video game protagonist? Looking forward to the responses. Make sure, you know, subscribe if you like this kind of content. I'll catch you soon. Also, do a video response. I want to see what you're coming up with. It's a good opportunity to come together and discuss what's up with them pro tags. All right, peace out, y'all. Catch you later.